My name is Ramya Ramanathan. I'm the editor of Canadian Immigrant magazine, and I'm joined by my colleague, Laura Jackman, who is responsible for marketing. So let's go ahead and start the web conference. So formally, welcome to everyone to the Canadian Immigrant Web Conference series being held in partnership with ACCES Employment and Bank of Montreal and Western Union. My name is Ramya Ramanathan, and I said I'm the editor of Canadian Immigrant magazine. You can find us at canadianimmigrant.ca, and you can also find our magazine issues at various settlement agencies and at the gateway newsstands at the subway station if you're in Toronto. So this industry-specific web conference for internationally educated professionals is, hold on. So this will be about hiring trends, as you know. So thank you for joining us. And this is being recorded and posted on our website to watch for those who cannot attend in person, or if you do need to leave earlier. So you can come back and find the recording. So before we get started, we wanted to share a short video from our sponsors. And my colleague Laura will play you a quick video. Laura, please go ahead.
Hi, Yasmine. It's your brother here. I'm sending a little money home to help that dream of yours become a reality.
When you send money, you send more than money. Western Union. Since moving to Canada, I've been working very hard to settle with work and family. So yes, life is a bit chaotic. For my first bank in Canada, I chose BMO because the whole family can save together. With the BMO New Start banking program, I got more than $650 in value and unlimited global money transfer with no fee for a year. This means more progress for the whole family. Maraming salamat, BMO.
Thank you, Laura, and thanks a lot to our sponsors, BMO and Western Union, and of course, our partner, ACCES Employment. So let's get started. I'm thrilled to introduce our first speakers joining us today from ACCES Employment, Yasmine Abdelhadi and Emmanuel Serrano. So Yasmine is an employment counselor with over 14 years of experience, and Emmanuel has over 8 years of experience in the field of employment counseling as well. If you have any questions for Yasmine or Emmanuel, please type them at the Q&A buttons, or on the right-hand side of the screen at the chat area. So you can also email us at any time at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. So thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Yasmine, for joining us today. And please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ramya, so much. We're really happy to join. This is my second year to present. Again, my name is Yasmine, and I work for ACCES Employment. I've been working with ACCES for 4 years, and me and my colleague Emmanuel, we're based out of Brampton office. At the end of the presentation, we're going to share our contacts, and if you have any question, if we didn't address your question during the presentation, please feel free to connect with us through our contact detail we're going to share. I would like to introduce my colleague, Emmanuel. He's here. I'll pass the mic to him.
Emmanuel, we cannot hear you. You
Sorry,
might.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
All right,
great.
my name is Emmanuel Serrano. I work with ACCES Employment as an employment consultant and mentoring coach. I work with ACCES for more than 10 years now, and it's a very entertaining job. So we welcome you all at ACCES Employment. Thank you.
So we're going to start sharing the presentation, and our presentation today is about job search and interview preparation. Please let me know if, okay, starting from the beginning. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So I'll pass the mic to Emmanuel. He can start.
All right. Well, this is all about ACCES Employment. This page. For over 35 years, ACCES Employment has been providing programs and services for job seekers facing barriers to employment. We work with over 2,800 employers to connect diverse talent to meaningful employment in Canada. And we have 7 locations across the GTA. And the new market location is the newest ones. Just like Yasmine said a while ago, we will flash a slide of whereabouts are our offices in the GTA, so you can contact anyone that is close to you or close to your place or where you live. Thanks, Yasmine.
Thank you. Okay, perfect. So like we have many locations, as I mentioned, and we offer also webinars that are online. You can RSVP to any of the webinar that we have or the event on our website, accessemployment.ca. Myself and Emmanuel, we work under a program called the Employment Ontario, but we have also a variety of programs like bridging programs. Immigrants program usually serve all job seekers who are unemployed or underemployed. When clients are working with an ACCES consultant, they will receive a customized action plan to reach their employment or training goal and receive that job search support to get connected with employers. So feel free to connect with us after.
All right, these are the workshop series we have. We have job search skills, networking for your career, resume development skills, LinkedIn and virtual networking, preparing for interview, and the hiring trends in Canada. Next one, please. Okay, this is your job search strategy. What are the key questions when you're doing your job search strategy? Why do you need a strategy and how do you build one? How do you identify targets for your job search? How do you use your strategy to look for work? And the last one is how do you prepare for an interview, which is very important.
Yeah, so as a newcomer in such a competitive market, you need to have a strong job search skills. So I'm sure many of you have been applying for job and sometimes you don't hear back. So today we're going to answer a very key question that I'm sure you will be asking. And we will cover the job search and as well as interview preparation. But the main goal is to really focus on the job search and we would be answering those questions, okay?
So what are the job search methods? Okay, ask a friend for an introduction, answered an advertisement, responded to a help wanted sign, or I registered at an employment agency. Next, please. All right, job search is an action plan, which is it is how you execute job search methods. in combination strategically. Strategically is a very important word because you have to strategize what your job search is and why do you need an action plan and how do you build one. Go ahead, Yasmin.
So I would like to explain those 5 key elements of a job search action plan. And that is what we will focus on today in our workshop. So it is really important to identify your career aspirations and goals. And what is really aspiration? Aspiration reflects the personal criteria that motivate a career path, such as like lifestyle, financial reward, vacation, flexibility. It's really what you're looking for. Some people look for work-life balance, like you can add your own career aspiration to the mix. And then you kind of reflect on your career goals. And career goals are specific and include the industry to target specific roles or time frame. You can also think about, are you looking for part-time job, full-time job? And then you can also identify your skills. So skills are including soft skills and hard skills, and that will cover later in our presentation. Identifying and selecting targets for your job search, like companies or contacts. I always like suggest to my client to have an Excel sheet and start to build up the companies or the some sort of the contacts that they're going to approach for their job search. Number 4, and it's really to position yourself. Only cover, we're going to cover networking briefly in the workshop because the main focus is on your job search. And lastly, which is number 5, is actively seeking a job. So don't lose motivation. So I advise my client to apply for at least 10 jobs a day. If you want to apply more, it's up to you, but you be consistent. So every single day, you need to apply for at least 10 jobs. Even if you don't hear back, you keep applying for 10 jobs a day. You can always revise your strategy if your strategy is not working, but the key is to keep applying every day.
All right. Identifying your career aspirations and goals. We use the word or the acronym SMART. Next, please.
SMART is really about like it's a technique that you're going to use to put down your career goals. And Nawal going to share with you how can you do that.
All right. For the acronym SMART, S starts with a specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So identify your skills. Okay, these are the
Yeah, sorry, Nawal, I just went ahead.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, I went back.
Yeah, you want to continue with this?
Yeah, okay, sure. So, so the goal should be SMART. SMART, as Noel shared, it's the abbreviation for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So specific, your goal have to be specific and clear about what you can and want to do. Measurable mean your goal should be measurable with a clear identification, or you have to kind of know exactly how you can measure that success of your goal. Achievable is your goal are not achievable. You will have to discuss it, or you have to alter your goal. And you have to be always motivated to achieve your goal. Realistic, your goal may stretch your ability and experience, but if they are unrealistic, you might be setting yourself up for failure. Timely, you have to put a time frame for your goal. So for example, if you want to land a job, like let's say you want to land a job within 3 months, so that is the time frame that you have to land a job. Adaptable, you don't have to be firm about what your goal look like, but you can always edit it, or you can always alter your goal based on the result that you're getting or the feedback you're getting. Okay. So the next slide is really like employer have to look for a candidate, or when they look for a candidate over time, they look for specific skills. So the 80s, 1980s, they used to focus on the technical skills such as welding, computer programming, typing, um, accounting, like those type of skills. But then between the 1980s and the 2000s, the employer really start to not only look for hard skills, but also to look for soft skills. So they start to, the concept of hard and soft skills was introduced to distinguish between the technical skills that are required to perform a role and the interpersonal skills that are necessary to succeed in the workplace. The difference between hard and soft skills was defined as hard skills and learned and can be also measured and assessed, while soft skills are harder to measure or evaluate, and it includes the innate personality traits. Usually employer considered as specific skills at always being either hard or soft skills, no matter what the job is. So we have here some skills on the slide, and those are some soft skill mixed with some hard skills. We usually do this as an exercise, but like because we don't have much time, I just want to share with you a couple of examples here. Like good listening would be a soft skills, good public speaking also a soft skills, but equipment maintenance is a hard skill, or driving a car also a hard skill. So that's to give you kind of an idea about the differences between soft skills and hard skills. So today it is understood that both hard skills can be learned, and many jobs are comprised along the entirety of skills that were previously defined as soft skills. So really, like nowadays, we know that we can learn and adapt to both soft skills and hard skills. Skills that are essential to specific role. Most of the time, this is a hard skill. Additional skills that are value to a role and given an applicant as an edge could be considered as nice to have. So in any job post, you want to look at the job description or the job specification. Sometimes they mention, you will see that they mention the technical skills they're looking for, which is the hard skills, and the soft skills that they also require for the job. If there is something not very important to them, they will say that it is good to have, or you don't have to have it, or you will identify that in the job post. But the essential skills, they will be mentioned clearly in the job specification. And now I'm going to pass to Nawal. I think
Hello,
I can.
okay.
Yeah.
Next one is identify role dependent skills. It's the same skills that can be need to have or nice to have skill depending on the role. What are the nice to have, essential to the role that and required to apply, and nice to have, add value to the role and employer. For the need to have, let's see a degree in IT, a certificate in HTML, Python, or a JavaScript, 5 to 10 years experience working in IT. in a leadership or management role. In the nice to have, which is the soft skills, as Yasmin said, a strong communication skills to be able to document processes and share updates internally, an experience in change management when moving to a new software system. It's very important. This is for the IT director. Three, identify targets. Whenever I talk to, I do an assessment with my client, I give you an example, I really ask them what their short-term goal, long-term goal, and I ask them, is it realistic? Is it doable? So how do you identify targets for your job search? Okay, so next, please. Posted jobs, job boards. You can find the job postings on the job boards, company websites, professional association websites, employment agency websites, job fairs, social media, and newspapers. And if I may add, I mean, like I'm also a mentoring coach, so find somebody to be your mentor, because another advantage of having these mentors with you is having a good mentor or a network. Please add more mentors or network in your pocket, so whenever you need them, they're always available. All right. Go ahead, Yasmin. Okay, what are the hidden jobs market? Where are the jobs? Okay, posted and hidden. 40%, believe it or not, of jobs are advertised online and job boards. I usually tell my clients to when you see a job posting on the Indeed, and that they posted even just for 2 days, thousands of applications have already been signed, or resumes have been sent to that job. So why don't you stick your nose, or uh, put more time and effort on the hidden job markets. Okay, so 70% of employers look for talent internally first and in their networks. So you can uh, find people. I mean, like network with people, because these are, if a job is offered internally, they ask their staff to help the company find that person. So next is company research. Yeah, it's very important. Even for your job interview, company research is always a must for you to do, because you always ask why they want to work with us, right? Find out everything you can. Research will uncover potential companies, opportunities, and how to prepare for them. All right. How can you find them, or where you find them? LinkedIn, very important, very good source of information and job postings or job links. LinkedIn, current news stories, press releases, company website, Better Business Bureau, Chamber of Commerce, and of course, Glassdoor. Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Nawal. So we kind of coming here at the last slide that we have, but we will focus more. I think the next presenter will focus more on interview, but we're going to talk briefly. Usually, how long? Because many people ask me, how long would it take me to land an interview? It's really depend on your activities. So you have to increase your activities in order to land more interview. And once you land an interview, then you need to do your job. What is your job? You need to research the company. You need to read the job posting. You need to look for the interview question, the technical interview question. You need to have at least 50 question to answer at home before you go to your interview. And you need to write down your answers. You need to, if you have a employment consultant that you're working with, you can ask them to do a mock interview with you. So they can ask you a question and you can answer as a practice. If you don't have employment consultant, you can ask a family member to practice with you. And really, practice make perfect, as we all know. then engage, like make sure that you reach out to see like, okay, like what information you need to gather to be prepared, dress appropriately for the interview, and do your homework. Okay, so now we're going to wrap up for our presentation today, but we're going to open the floor for any question. So if you have any question, post it in the chat box and we will be able to answer.
Yasmin, Emmanuel, thank you so much for that excellent presentation. We have a number of questions flow in, and you've talked about realistic timelines. You've talked about all the important components. There are some very interesting specific questions that have come in. So the first one is, where do I list soft skills on my resume?
Yeah, usually in your resume, you start with a professional summary. And I saw some people integrate their soft skill in the professional summary or at the end of the professional summary, whether in points or even as a paragraph. And sometime right after the professional summary, you have another section is professional skills. And that is, you can either split the technical skills and soft skills, or you can put them together. It's really up to you.
Yes.
There is no right or wrong.
Yes. And if I may add, I mean, like the soft skills that you're going to be using or putting in your resume is based on the posting. That's why you really have to focus on what soft skills the posting is looking for. If you're putting on different soft skills that is not related or relevant to the posting, it doesn't make sense. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you for that response. And the next question, how do we deal with HR people saying only Canadian experience is considered?
Yeah.
As experience.
If I may answer that, most at ACCES Employment, more than 50% of our clients are newcomers. Literally, they don't have Canadian experience. And you know what? I don't entertain that question anymore. I'm tired of that. Okay, that is a no question from employer. And if my client would ask me how will they answer that question, I always tell them that just like this. Okay, sir, you may realize that I may not have the Canadian experience, but what am I offering you is a global experience. That's the best answer you can get that, and say that with pride and confidence, so they will see it will travel. It will relay the message to the employer. Okay, that's a tiring question.
Yeah, and I've heard of this a lot. We actually write columns on it. I would suggest that you read our career coach section on our website, because there are a number of ways, in addition to what Emmanuel is saying, where you can do something about it. Volunteer, get those hours. In addition to the experience you already have, the employer has a sense that you want to integrate into the Canadian workplace. So find a volunteer position, make contacts, talk to people. So there are a few things you can do to start, like Emmanuel is saying, it is a very tiring question. This is the reality of what's happening, but there are a number of ways that you can just strategize and think about how you can deal with this situation. So the next question, how do you recommend international students connect with people in their specific backgrounds? The question that, this came in specifically for the engineering field, somebody who is with an engineering background. But the question is, can be general. How do you connect with people in specific backgrounds?
Are these international students?
Yes.
If you're aware that by November 24, the federal government will be increasing the number of students to work to be in the workplace, because there is a big shortage of workforce in Canada. So that's a good news for you guys. I guess November 24. Check out, Google it. I mean, you can find the answer.
Go to CanadianImmigrant.ca. We have just run an article about it. And this is for a period of about 13 months, starting November 25th. I'm not sure of the exact date. But earlier, students could work only 20 hours outside campus. The government has increased those hours. And this is, to help students, but also because Canada has a real labor shortage. So everything is in your favor. You just have to learn how best to deal with your career and your progress. So the next question is, two very quick questions where, we have to watch the time. But one is, can people start accessing your services from ACCES from overseas if they have their PR?
Yes, we have a pre-arrival. You can check out, it's called CEC. And if you are already approved for coming to Canada, you have your PR number, you can register that access and you will be prepared before coming to Canada. Once they landed in Canada, they were able to get a job right away because for the CEC program, we also introduce the job-ready clients, the newcomers, to employers right away. Actually, there are employers who are hiring people that haven't landed yet in Canada through the CEC program of ACCES. Visit our website, just put the CEC, and you can register and access the program.
Great. And the last question is, something just popped up. A question, and I'm just going to respond to this. When you say Canada has a real labor shortage, it is, take a look, because it is industry specific. It is, there are regions, provinces, it's all over. So this is all over. It's all regions, provinces, all territories. Why? Because we have an aging population. So I would, a request that you take a look at our website. There are a lot of articles and responses on the subject. So last question for you. What level of English do you recommend seekers possess to help them progress successfully in their research in Canada?
I think we worked with clients with various language level. Some jobs require a high communication skills. So if I get a newcomer when their language level is not as high as the job requirements or acceptable for that specific job or specific field, then I recommend the other career options that doesn't require that high language level. And at the same time, the client could be working on to improve their language. And once their language is improved, then we can work with them to land a job within their same career. So it's really, there are jobs for all levels. Like I get sometimes clients who doesn't really speak English, just could understand a little bit or be able to introduce themselves. And I kind of answer with them interview question to prepare them to go for an interview. So I think no matter what your language level, you still can work and you still can find work.
Agreed. And one thing we've heard, because we've had a lot of different web conferences on different subjects, for instance, with nurses, we've heard that you need to know the terms and the terminology we use in Canada. It could be different in your country. So there are certain things that you have to focus on and you have to have in place, even if you don't speak English fluently. There are certain things that you need to think about your career pathway, and be ready, make yourself ready for the field you're in. So Yasmine, Emmanuel, thank you for that great presentation. You've covered a lot of important topics. So
Yeah,
You're
thank
Thank
you,
you.
welcome.
Ramya. And I just shared like right now our location. We have 7 location across
Yeah,
the board, and feel
just
free
take a
to call
snapshot. Yeah,
any
yeah.
or take a picture of it. Connect with your nearest Access Employment office. If you have any question, please ask, and we will be able to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ramya.
Ramya.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing your expertise with us. Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
So next up, to join us on the Canadian Immigrant Web Conference series on hiring trends and interview preparation with ACCES Employment and sponsored by the Bank of Montreal and Western Union is Atosha Paya. Hi, Atosha. How are you?
Hi, Ramya. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Good, thank you. We're delighted you could join us. So Atosha is an employment coach based out of Calgary, Alberta. So if you have any questions for Atosha, please type it into the Q&A or the chat box, and either during or after the presentation, and we will get to it after. So we're thrilled to have you, Atosha. So please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, I hope everyone just can see that.
No, actually, no.
No?
Let's maybe it's gonna take a
Oh, okay.
second.
Give me 1 second.
But yes, you're good.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you so much. So thank you, Ramya, again for having me, and thank you to my fellow panelists, Yasmine and Noel, for that awesome presentation. And good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are, to everyone who's here today. My name is Atosha, and I'm so excited to share with you some tips for job searching, as well as recommendations on how to be successful in your next job interview. Just to briefly introduce myself, like Ramya mentioned, I live in Calgary, Alberta. On top of job coaching, I also work full-time as an advisor for Service Canada for over 6 years. I've always loved helping friends and family apply for jobs, and having had to navigate very rigorous and tricky job processes myself, it's always something that people would come to me for. And so during COVID, I decided to create an online platform and to start taking on clients. And 2 years later, I've had the privilege of helping many clients from different locations and backgrounds prepare for their upcoming interviews. So through this experience, I've common errors that I've seen and that I want to share with all of you here to improve your chances of landing the job that you desire. My family came to Canada from Tanzania when I was 2 years old, and I love this country. It's home to me. But through experience growing up as a first-generation Canadians, I know firsthand some of the struggles that we have to fight for to cover life for yourself in a new country. And so this is something that's very close to my heart. And so just very excited to be able to speak to you all here today. Okay, so some of the things during my session that I'm going to talk about for the next 25 minutes or so is about the following topics. So I'm going to get into a few statistics for job seekers, how to improve your job application, tips for preparing for a job interview, and then some tips specifically for ESL job seekers. So just to start, I wanted to provide you with some interesting statistics about job searching. And some of these might surprise you. They did for me. And it can be really helpful to look at some current studies like Ramya, with kind of what's going on, whether you're already in Canada or whether you're maybe looking to move to Canada in advance. And so these are some of the things that I found that I did find very interesting. COVID, as you know, has brought a lot of unexpected changes to the job market. And as a job seeker, some of those changes can be used to our advantage right now. A lot of industries have described right now as a job seekers market. So this means that there are more available jobs than there are people who are looking for work. And a lot of employers across Canada are struggling to find the right workers to meet the growing demand in a large range of different sectors. So here's some interesting facts from Statistics Canada that they brought forward last month. And I believe these are very job searchers right now. This was touched on a little bit with Yasmine and Noel's questions and Ramya as well, but there are a record number of job vacancies right now. Canada has job vacancies that have hit a record high, nearing almost 1 million open positions. This is partly due to inflation, wages not rising, and some people are not looking to take certain types of jobs that they don't feel will be able to support them. Another one is early retirement. Ramya mentioned this, that we do have a aging workforce in Canada. Many Canadians have decided to retire early after COVID, and already had a workforce that has more people close to retirement age. 1 in 5 of Canada's workforce is over 55 years old. And so having a lot of these folks retire early is something that is definitely felt in the job market. And the last one here is that there are also some industries that have more high vacancies than others, like the trades, nursing, transportation. In fact, in some regions in Canada, such as Alberta, where I live, the province that I live, they're even creating initiatives to attract more workers or even more students to some of these industries. So this does seem to suggest that this could be a very good time in Canada if you're looking for work and for opportunities that have not been there before. Of course, this depends on where you live in Canada and the industry that you're looking for, of course, and sometimes there can be some of those barriers that might come into play when you may not have as much job. But I really do agree with Noel and Ramya that this is something that can definitely be overcome. Okay, so let's just start from the top if we're looking for a job. So which site is the best? Of course, there's a ton of different portals that we can use with ZipRecruiter, Monster, Indeed. But recently, Consumer Advocate did a ton of research and pulled different job sites to determine what the best overall job site would be. And so I want to ask you guys in the chat, if you have any guesses, maybe something that you've used in the past that you really liked, what would you say by dropping in the chat what you think the best job search website is? I'll just give you guys like 10 seconds or so just to drop that in the chat. Okay. Well, it's actually Indeed. Indeed was voted in this instance as the best overall website to apply for careers or jobs for. And so it's just something to consider first step. And so just I promise, Indeed is not paying me to say this or anything like that, but know someone who works at Indeed, I'm open for that. So I did want to add on top of Indeed, there's also one that's really good specifically for networking, which is LinkedIn. LinkedIn really leans more towards professional salaried work, however. So depending on the type of work that you're looking for, maybe more hourly job, it might not be the best, but it is very good for networking. It is really good for finding people in different industries and following people in the industries that you may want to work in. So that's definitely something that I could suggest. So another question for you guys here to drop in the chat. Now that we have a great option of where we could potentially apply, how do we get our resume seen? So did you know that this is the percentage of resumes that never even get seen by a hiring managers? What would you guys guess the percentages if you were to drop that in the chat? I'll just give you like 5 seconds for that as well. So this percentage of resumes never make it to the hiring manager. It's actually close to 75%. And this is largely because this is largely because 99% of organizations, large and small, use ATS, which is applicant tracking system in their hiring process. So what is ATS? This is a type of resume scanning software that's used by recruiters during the hiring process to collect, sort, scan, and rank job applications that they receive for open positions. So they almost act as a gatekeeper, an electronic gatekeeper for employers and hiring managers. And so basically it takes the resume's content, it separates it into categories, and then it scans it for specific or relevant keywords. And then that's what they use to determine whether it should even be passed along to the recruiter. And so what does this mean? It becomes really easy for your resume to be filtered out and never even see human eyes. So how can we beat ATS? This is almost a case of man against robot, and I think man will win in this case. So here are some tips of how to optimize your resume to beat ATS. So to be able to go past that filtering system and be seen by someone. So Top Resume, which is another website, it recently examined 1,000 resumes and to identify the most common resume mistakes that can cause the ATS to toss away an application. And so I use these findings to create this little list of how to check your resume before you apply to make sure that it has a better chance of being seen. The first category is under formatting. So one is to avoid images, charts, and other graphics. They look very nice, but unfortunately they may get scrambled in the system and the information won't come through. So just stick to, which is the second point there, stick to simple bullet points. Long ago, when I was first trying to apply for a job in the interview, I kept getting screened out over and over again, although I felt I had the qualifications. And I spoke to someone who's working in there, and they gave me awesome advice that I use to this day. And within the next month, I had gotten that job. And it's really just to keep it simple. So if you're like me, maybe you've been taught in school to write like you're writing a thesis or an essay, with fancy sentences and things like that. This is not helpful or needed. It's best to just keep simple statements that really highlight what it is that they are looking for and how you meet those criteria. The third point under formatting is to avoid header and footer. So this is basically just the space on the top of your document, the space on the bottom that normally has very specific information. Avoid this because some ATS programs won't even be able to read the information in there. If you do use it, make sure not to put the important information within the header or the footer. The second section is about the content. So you have to tailor your resume for each job. So of course, it is very time consuming, but you're going to reduce your chances if you send out a bunch of resumes to different places and not look at the criteria and make sure that you're tailoring it a little bit for each one. The second one is to use keywords from the job description. So in the job that you're looking for, they'll have criteria that they are also looking for. You want to not completely redo your resume, but taking some words that they're looking for and making sure that those words are used at least twice in your resume as well. So for example, if they use that they're looking for someone with great leadership qualities, you want to also mention in your resume that you have good leadership qualities, whether the word leader itself or in one of the examples of your work history, show how you've shown good leadership qualities, whether with the word leader or even other similar words like I headed a group or I led my team, for example. And the last one is to use summary statements. So this is just a brief statement, just a few sentences on the top of your resume. That also allows you to even use more keywords as well. Just for example, like professional marketing manager with over 6 years of experience seeking, and then you can explain what it is that you're seeking as well. And so other general tips here is also just to use Microsoft Word, just to be on the safe side. Some might not recognize other types like maybe PDF. And so that same study I mentioned showed that 43% of resumes get screened out because of the type of documents that they're using. And then the last one on here is to use a free ATS scanner. So if you look online, there's actually a bunch of different ATS scanners that are available for free. And I put for free in there because if you're like me, I don't want to pay for things if I don't have to, if they have a free version. And so basically you can just put in the job description and then you put in your resume and it'll scan it and give your application a score. And then you can use that to determine whether you have to make some tweaks. So I just have an example here as well of what I was referring to of taking keywords from the job description. You can also do a Google search to find industry related words and pepper them throughout your resume. For example, this one that I'm showing has common the types of words that are typically looked for in marketing, if it was a field in marketing. So you'll see there that there's collaboration, digital innovation. So you can take things like that and also try to incorporate them into your resume as you're describing it to help your resume stand out and more. So a few more resume do's and don'ts. So do use a template. So there's many free templates online that will give your resume a very professional and polished look. Again, just remembering not to use a very fancy template that's not going to have clear bullet points. So still keeping that in mind. Don't include a picture. Most companies don't ask or require this. Do use precise quantifiable examples in your work history. Don't include personal confidential information. Do make sure to add volunteer and community service to your resume. This can be especially important if you are a new immigrant to Canada as well, and you also want to show maybe your tie to Canadian workforce as well. So this can be a great opportunity, and in general, because it just speaks to your personality and a little bit of who you are, what you decide to spend your free time doing. Don't include obvious skills. So this can be things like using a computer, Microsoft Word. At this point, it's kind of expected that most people would have the basic skills in some of these things, and it just takes up space in your resume. Do have someone proofread your resume. This can help someone to catch something that you may have missed. And lastly, don't overuse common industry terms. It can be very tempting to use those kind of overused terms like hardworking. Show instead how you are those things within your resume, and that will help it to stand out more. So now it's finally happened. You have a job interview. How do you stand out from others? Before I get into the tips here, just let me give you what I also found to be some interesting statistics. So these are some studies that they found from some hiring managers. So the first one is recruiters need about 90 seconds to determine whether they would hire a candidate. The second one is a lack of confidence during the interview is the reason why 40% of interviewers don't take a candidate past the first stage. The third one is 71% of interviewers will pass on a candidate who isn't appropriately dressed. And the last one is 76% of respondents reject candidates who appear arrogant. So what do all of these have in common? Well, none of them actually have to do with your work experience, meaning that you might actually be the better candidate on paper through your experience, but someone else may make a better impression. So in my opinion, understanding how humans think and connect can be really important in an interview as well. A lot of these factors have to do more with body language, smiling, eye contact, things like that. And human beings are made for connection. So we relate to each other through our feelings and emotions. So it's hard for most people, including recruiters, to consider only what you have on paper. They're also looking to see how they perceive you. So in fact, take a look at some of these other list of top 10 pet peeves. So these are things that managers don't like. So you'll see that it's really easy to miss an opportunity, not because you're not qualified, but because maybe you didn't properly take into account how small impressions can make a huge difference. So this is from a 2022 survey, and it gives like a list of off-putting behaviors: lack of preparation, arriving late to an interview, poor listening skills, speaking negatively about a former employer or coworker, inappropriate language, bragging, overconfidence, failing to ask questions, rambling, so going on and on and on for too long when you're answering a question, and lack of eye contact, lack of preparation being the first one. So this is why it can be super important to do your research. And I think especially when you're from a different country, because if you'll notice, not all of these are universally considered rude. Some really depend on the culture of the country that you live in. Some situations where in some countries, it's probably rude to have too much eye contact, and it's more respectful to look down. So it's just good to do a little bit of research so that these things won't hinder you when you're looking for an employment. This is not to change your unique cultural mannerisms, but you do want to be mindful of these things so you don't get screened out for something that can just be a cultural difference. So it seems from these that preparation is really key when it comes to the job interview. So there's a lot of steps that you can take to reduce your chances of getting screened out of the hiring process. And so I also have a few more things here. So you might be thinking, Atosha, I get it. Enough of what I should not do. What are some of the things I actually should do? So here are some ways that you can prepare before the job interview. So I'll be reading left to right. Make sure you know how to get to the location. So how long is the commute? Who should you contact when you get there? If it's a virtual interview, which more are these days, make sure that you download and test the virtual meeting in advance so that you know how to use it. You can even do a quick test run with a friend or a family member. The second one is to print a few copies of your resume. It looks professional. This is for an in-person. It looks professional. And if they happen to ask you something and they're referring to your resume, you have your own resume in front of you. The third one is to research the company that you're interviewing for. Go to their website, read about their values, try to get a sense of what this company is about. You can usually go on their website and there will be an about page, and that talks about kind of their history and what they're looking for. That will let you know, is this more a traditional company or is this more maybe a cutting edge company? And then you can speak to those values. The fourth one, oops, sorry, back up on screen there. The fourth one is to review the job posting. This will just kind of keep it on the top of your mind exactly what it is that they were looking for. So re-review the job posting even before the interview. So that way you can make sure that you're speaking to the criteria that they were looking for in the job interview. The fifth one is to practice answering the most common questions. This is so important. Again, with Google, our best friend, you can just go on there and look at what are the most common interview questions, and then you can do it specifically for the field that you're looking for. And then have a friend or a family member conduct a mock interview. This will really help to make you more confident and prepare your answers. So how to prepare on interview day? These a lot of these are things that many people might think of doing, but it's always just great to add so that you have it on the top of your mind. The first one is to double check your interview outfit. Double check. It's recommended to prepare your outfit the night before so you can check for any tears or missing buttons or things like that. Make sure everything fits properly. The last thing you want is to have to scramble for a different outfit, especially if you forgot that a button fell off of it. Ladies who are on the call, am I right? That's the last thing that we want. Number two is to avoid strong scents. This might be culturally specific, but in Canada, many offices tend to be scent free because there's a lot of people who are sensitive to scents. So it's good to be mindful of that. Get mentally prepared. I think this is really important, especially about the first impressions, whatever that takes for you to get into the mindset of being comfortable, remembering that you're at the interview stage because they did like what they saw on the interview. Gather all your paperwork, which is the fourth one, and just make sure that you have everything that you need. If it's online, make sure that your whole setup is okay, everything looks good, that your water is nearby, everything is already set up. And be mindful of every interaction as soon as you walk into the building. So, smiling at everyone, greeting people as you walk in. Now, the last piece I wanted to talk about is specifically for those who are new in Canada, or maybe those of you out there who haven't moved yet and are thinking of it. And this is specifically about interviewing when English is not your first language and some tips related to that. So from my experience, from helping folks who English are not their first language, these are some of the common mistakes that I often advise people to avoid. So interviewing in your first language, this is what I would recommend. First, practice speaking English every day. Speak with a partner. If you don't have someone who speaks English, speak to yourself as you go about your day. I do this to practice my French as I'm walking around. I talk about what it is that I'm doing, and this will help it to flow more naturally on interview day. 2 is don't overly apologize for speaking errors because this might make you appear less confident. Number 3 is when applicable, be clear and transparent about your English level, especially if it's quite noticeable, but you can do this and present this in a positive way. So for example, if I speak a little slowly, it's just so that I can speak clearly. I speak 3 languages. English is my third language, something like that. Number 4 is to work on building your confidence. So you might notice that it's a little harder to speak a second language when you are nervous. And so all of these preparation tips will also help you on the day of to be in a space that is comfortable so that your English flows better. Number 5 is to practice difficult to pronounce words in advance, especially the words that are in your field. Ramya mentioned this, and I definitely agree with that. So for example, if you're an engineer, practice how to clearly pronounce engineer and also the terms that are relevant in your industry. Okay. Speak at a comfortable pace, and a lot of times this might have to be at a slower pace. Nerves can often make you to speak faster, so just make a conscious effort to speak slowly and don't even try to match maybe the interviewer as they might speak quicker. Keep at the pace that you're comfortable with. Have someone conduct a mock interview again. That's important whether English is your first language or not. The third one, don't be afraid to ask the interviewer to repeat a question. So don't feel like it'll make it sound like you're not understanding. Better to understand the question and make sure you clearly heard than to answer the question incorrectly. Be mindful of breathing slowly and deeply through the interview. Again, this will help settle nerves. And the last one is to smile, nod, and engage the interviewer. So this can draw attention away from maybe some English errors and just draw it to your body language. And lastly, the final tip is just to network. Yasmine and Noel also mentioned this, and definitely you want to network. There's a lot of jobs that are not online. So whatever that means in your community, don't be afraid to put it out there that you're looking for work as well with people that you know, because you never know who might know someone. All right, thank you so much for that opportunity. And now I just want to put it out there. If anyone does have any questions, I do have my contact information on there right now. Right now, I'm currently doing mock interviews on Fiverr, and my profile is on there. And so thank you so much.
Atosha, thank you for that excellent presentation. I learned so much. I didn't know what an ATS, I didn't even know what that was, and that there was a free scanner. And I'm going to listen to this again, send it to everyone I know, because
Awesome.
I learned so much. Thank you so much for this interview. So our third speaker just joined us, Murli. Murli, we're just going to take some questions for Atosha. We might have, let's say, 3 or 4 questions, and then we'll come to Murli. So, and if we don't get to your questions, Atosha shared her contact information, so feel free to write to her directly. So, for the summary, first question, Atosha, for the summary section in the resume you mentioned, would you recommend using bullet points or paragraph form?
I'm really a big proponent of bullet points. I always used to think that paragraphs, maybe they look nicer, they look more fancy, but honestly, it is easier to read, especially if someone is looking at it. And so a lot of times people are just kind of scanning it, and you just want their eyes to land on where it is that you want them to land. And so I find that a lot of successful resumes are actually a lot of times just very simple looking with just bullet points highlighting the things that they want to highlight.
Great. And you did speak about this, but the question is, when you use LinkedIn to find out as much as you can about the person who's interviewing you, is it spying or smart research?
Good question. Even if it's spying, I would definitely do it, because actually a lot of times employers, if you do have a LinkedIn, are also looking at you as well to find whether to get more information about you and get to know a little bit about you. So I would definitely say it's smart research, and it's such a great point and a good idea to also do a little bit of research, we'll say, on the people who are going to be doing the interview for you as well.
I completely agree with you. And the other thing is, please make sure you're in the private mode on LinkedIn. You can keep
Yeah,
your, or just pay $39 a month. I don't know how much it is, but something like that for that month that you're interviewing, because then you can set yourself private mode, do whatever you're doing, but
it's
just
good
find out your
to.
options, do your research before you start spying. Okay. So, would you recommend including language skills on my resume?
I would definitely recommend that. Also, especially if it happens to be French and English, because those are the two official languages in Canada. And then it just speaks to you as well that you can speak multiple languages. And so, yeah, on my own resume, I put the languages that I speak as well.
Okay, great. And one last question. I am a designer. Should I send samples of the work I've done with my resume?
That's a good question, but I would probably say it's specific to the job application. I wouldn't send anything unless it's specifically asked for. There's probably more informal ways. Maybe if you're contacting someone directly and you're just kind of reaching out to meet different people and you want to send them as you doing that on your own initiative, that's one thing. But if you're going through an official process and they're just asking for the resume, I would just only send what it is that they're asking for. So also that it shows that you're, respecting what it is that they are specifically asking for.
Okay, great. So thank you so much. And folks, I know there are a number of questions here. So please do write to us at info@canadianimmigrant.ca, or, just share your questions with Atosha directly. And we've had this question again and again. Yes, this recording will be posted on our website and YouTube, and you can access all this information even if you haven't been taking notes. So thank you, Atosha. And
Thank you.
next, yeah, it was great to have you here. Next up to join us in Canadian Immigrant Web Conference Series for hiring trends and interview prep with ACCESS Employment, sponsored by BMO, Bank of Montreal, and Western Union, is Murli Murthy. So Murli is the best-selling author, leadership trainer, and the resident career coach for Canadian immigrants. So Murli has a column. You can go back and read a number of valuable tips that he shares with us. Murli, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Ramya. As always, it's a pleasure to be associated with Canadian Immigrant, and thanks for the warm welcome. And as I begin my session, that's a hard act to follow after Atosha. Atosha, you nailed it. I think everyone got much more than they expected. You over-delivered, and I was just sitting there taking notes after notes. So Atosha did a wonderful job, and everyone who's on the call, I think Atosha shared valuable information. And so, how do I, follow up to that wonderful act? So here is something that all of us have to understand. Whether you're looking for an IT job, a project management, accounting, finance, anything, whether you are a student or a new immigrant or anything, or someone in between jobs, there's one thing we all need to remember. A typical job opening attracts over 250 resumes, easily over 100 resumes. Everything Atosha said makes perfect sense, provided you get called to the interview, isn't it? There is a bridge still to be covered. There is a gap, and which is from the time you submit a resume to getting the interview call. Make sense? So everything Atosha said made sense, but hey, how do I get to the interview? What do I do to make sure I get selected? Out of the 250 applicants, hardly 10 or 20 get selected for an interview. What is it that you need to do to get to the top 10? And that would be the focus of our topic. So let me share my presentation right away, and let's get to the meat. All right. So we are in the new normal, the post the pandemic. Suddenly the word corona is gone. Corona is gone to the word we all knew. It's a beer. Anyone says corona, you say you're talking about a beer. So it's all gone now, right? We're all got our booster shots, everything is fine. But we entered something called the new normal post 2020. In fact, that is not the new normal anymore. The new normal is the normal. And what does it mean? A lot has changed. Hybrid work is is in vogue these days. Remote work is in vogue. With that, a lot of things change. Video conferencing and Google Meets and Zoom meetings, all of that, how does that affect the typical job profile? So there are gaps to be covered, right? I remember when I used to travel in the London tube, we used to hear, mind the gap, isn't it? So we got to mind the gap. So what are the successful career strategies in the new normal? Make sense? I'm going to share with you three strategies. Today, the next 20 minutes, we shall cover three strategies. So let's go. Here's a little bit about myself in case you don't know. I have been associated with Canadian Immigrant for long. Thank you so much, Ramya, for the introduction. Yes, I'm a resident columnist and a career coach. You can look up our articles, but I'm typically a branding coach. I believe if you know your brand, you deserve to be a brand, and you need to stand out in the marketplace to be noticed and to be hired. And that's what I focus on. That's my website, aceworldfoundation.com. Those are books that I've published. In fact, the book that I'm holding called You Are Hired is nothing but a compilation of articles that I wrote for the Canadian immigrant. Right? It's a whole book. It's available on Amazon. These are clients I've spoken to. Pre-COVID, we should travel around the world, but today the focus is on you. And so, of the 40 articles that were shortlisted to be published on the book, I'm going to pick three topics from those 40 articles from this book, and I'm going to share with you. And does this look like you? That could represent any job applicant. Could be an immigrant, could be a student, could be someone in between jobs. I'm there, and that is the job I'm looking for. And everything Atosha said made sense. But you got to cross the bridge first. When you cross the bridge and you sit in front of the interviewer or on a Zoom, and then all those make sense. How do you cross the bridge? Atosha showed you a beautiful penthouse. But before the penthouse comes the foundation, isn't it? So let's talk about the foundation. Three tips to cross the bridge. Tip number one, what are the gaps that need to be covered? Some obvious and some not so obvious. Before we cross the bridge, take 2 seconds to read a beautiful quote by Alvin Toffler. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Anything I'm sharing with you is something I got from Google or the internet. It's available for you as well, right? This is freely available information that I put together. So you don't want to say, but Murli, you said this, but I have heard this. This is from the master himself. Anything I'm going to share with you, stats and figures are procured from Google. All right. So today is the day to unlearn some old things. Let go of opinions and perspectives and embrace new things. All right. Now that you got it out of the way, three skill gaps, three gaps to career transition to cross over to the bridge to the in-demand jobs in Canada today. What is number one? There is a new learning gap. A lot has changed in the last 1 to 2 years. Atosha made a beautiful point. The way you format your resume has to change. In addition to everything she said, she loves bullet points and everything. Did you also realize you and I consume all our information today on this device called the smartphone? Everyone, each one of us has a smartphone, but does that make us smart? What do I mean by that? If you are consuming all your information on your smartphone, from doing the GPS to location to even watching movies, did you realize the recruiter is also a human being? He could be looking at your resume on his mobile phone. You may have designed it on your laptop, but the resume, and there is enough proof that could be viewed on a mobile phone. How about making a resume mobile friendly? Bullet points. Well, it can look very good on the desktop as well, isn't it? So that's one of the new learnings. A degree and hard work is no longer your competitive advantage. But Murli, I have a degree, I work very hard. So do the 100 others. Your degree and your hard work and your soft skill. Now that's the competitive advantage. All right. What do you mean by that? Again, this may be a little very sensitive and touchy, but look at this information right from internet. Research conducted by Harvard University, the Carnegie Foundation, and Stanford Research Center have concluded that 85% of job success comes from having well-developed soft skills. Communication, the way you dress, your attire, and the way Atocha said, it's not what you speak, but you speak slowly in measured tones. These things count a lot. Only 15%. Now, this may be debatable, but let's say 50-50. Maybe 50% is how well you do the job, hard skill. 50% is promoting the fact that you do the job well, your soft skill. Let's keep that in mind. Again, piece of metal, right? I got a smartphone. 50%, be it an Apple or an Android, is doing the job well. 50% is how they promoted it. And people queue up to buy an iPhone 14 or something. Well, the same thing applies to you as well. All right. So this is just, your hard skill is the ability for you to do the job well. Your computer programming, your IT skills, your coding, your degree, your certificate, your logistics, supply chain, HR, finance. Those are your hard skills. Your soft skills. Now, these days it's called transferable skills. You may find a similar job in another industry. And those are communication, flexibility, leadership. In what ways do you demonstrate it? In the way you dress, in the way you package your LinkedIn, in the way you format your resume, in the way you answer a question. I remember we once had an article on in Canadian Immigrant. It's not the question the interviewer asks, it's the question behind the question. So be aware of everything. Okay. Again, something I picked off the internet. When the interviewer asks you, tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work for us? Like Atosha said, they look at your energy levels, not what you speak. It's only 7% of what you speak, but 38% is the energy level, 55% is the way you dress. You don't want a ring from your tongue and you're talking to speak, or a tattoo on your arm or your face. These are things you avoid, right? Soft skills and the perception of soft skills is important. Zoom, of course, or it could be Google Meets. Turn on the video, have notes, make sure your background is clean. Look at my background, look at Atosha's background, look at Ramya's background. There's a reason we have the background tells a story. All right. I just found this on the internet. Don't want to scare you, but look at this. ACCES.com. Your next job interview could be with a robo, which is true because of the sheer number and volume of resumes. Like Ramya said, the ATS, Atosha's ATS, in addition to ATS, robo screen you. So you want to be very careful about all those things. So it's called Glassdoor. Corporate job openings attract 250 resumes, and look at the number that gets shortlisted. You want to be in the 4 to 6 and the 1 category. All right. New learning, soft skills. So when I went on Google and I said, what exactly do recruiters look up on the resume? We have also been told resumes have become scannable resumes, and an average recruiter doesn't spend more than 6 to 7 to 10 seconds max. How can you impress someone in 10 seconds? Well, demonstrate leadership by the way you format your resume, by the way you communicate your presence. Make sure your name, under your name, there is a job title, there is a keyword, importance of keywords. And look at number 2, problem solving skills. Make sure you use your keywords to say how you can solve a problem. If you were hired, what would you do? That would be, in my opinion, more important than an objective statement. This would be a value proposition statement, isn't it? So communication, leadership, problem solving. Look at this. People don't care who you are. They only care if you can solve their problem quickly. So the first gap you want to cover, the new learning gap, is to make sure you package yourself more proficiently. You bring energy, like Atosha said, energy in your resume, in your LinkedIn, in your appearance, energy, the right use of keywords. Make sure you're focused on that. You're intentional about it, and make sure to solve a problem. I'll just give an example. Let us say you are in supply chain and you have 4 years experience. Right under your name, John Doe, accomplished supply chain professional, 4+ years specialized experience of what are supply chain keywords? Ensuring efficiency, logics, ensuring corporate movements properly. Let's say you're in HR, 4+ years experience of talent management, retention, and connecting the right candidates to organization. Make sure you use your keywords to get your message across. You've got to give me a reason to hold on. Make sense? The recruiter has to find a reason in the first 6 to 7 seconds when he scans your resume. Man, if I hire this person, such and such thing can be solved. The right keywords can make all the difference. That is new learning. Social media gap. Point number 2 is social media gap. A lot of us are not aware our presence on social media could actually harm our job prospects. Make sense? Why? Look at this. An image I picked off the internet, and there is enough proof today. 91% of employers are currently using social media as part of their hiring process. Well, you might hide your Facebook and Instagram and everything. Man, they got ways. Recruiters and election pollsters, they have ways to figure out who you are. Because in today's very divided world, people don't want to hire people who have extreme religious opinions or political views. Keep your social media profile clean, guys. If you have a political view or a religious view, make sure you are not making it too public. We are all entitled to our opinions, but remember, at the end of the day, you can have a job or an opinion. Make sense? Because people don't want to hire people who are posting stuff on the war and this and that and Joe Biden. When you're in Canada, I see people writing about US politics. Why would we do that? Look at this. 21% of recruiters admit to rejecting a candidate. Make sense? Now, that doesn't mean you don't do anything. Let us say you are an IT professional and you want to work at Rogers or Bell. Just giving an example, or IBM. This is what I would recommend. Start following those organizations. What do you think Rogers is doing on their Facebook? Are they saying 30% sale at this mall? Let's go pick up your stuff today. Or is Bell sharing a cat and a dog video? Not really. Each of them is promoting their services, isn't it? As a brand, isn't that what you should do? If you are a resourceful IT professional who wants a job at Rogers, start following Rogers. Maybe write a comment, share something they're doing. This gets noticed. Make your social media profile very friendly. Makes sense. The recruiter knows what kind of friend person you are. Look at this. An article from Harvard Business Review. You can Google this under hiring and recruitment. 70% of employees check out applicant profile. 54% of rejected applicants. Well, these are blind spot checks. In case you didn't know it, now you know. Maybe you're already doing it properly. But this is for those who have been a little negligent with their social media profile. We do get screened, guys. So just be aware of that in today's world. Maybe 10 years back, no one told you, but today they do. All right. Your online presence is also a social resume. So make sure, right? Look at this. If done properly, social media can also get you jobs. You can get called to the interview that Atosha mentioned because someone looked up your Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. Make sure you do it. My next step will be to focus on LinkedIn, but make sure you are searchable, the right keywords, and no red flags. Got it? Point number 3, our LinkedIn gap. Among social media, LinkedIn is the most frequently used social media tool by recruiters and employees and employers. Right? I always say this: joining LinkedIn is like joining a gym. Anyone can join a gym, but it's what you do in the gym. If I want to have a six-pack, just by joining a LinkedIn, I don't get a six-pack. I need to know which weight to use, which resistance and how much resistance, which dumbbell, cardio training and resistance training. Similarly on LinkedIn, what you do on LinkedIn is your profile optimized. Do you have the right picture? Do you have enough portfolio adjustments, right? So that's the number 3 gap, especially after the pandemic. LinkedIn has become very focal in getting people hired. Remember I said I find all my images on Google. Look at this. I found this on Google. Why is LinkedIn considered the best site for job seekers? 3 people are hired every minute. From the time I started speaking till now, at least 10 people got hired. Were you one of them? Which means thousands of jobs exist on LinkedIn right now. 55 job applications are submitted every second. Now, don't just go and submit to LinkedIn, but make sure you adjust your profile. Make sense? On my website, I have LinkedIn tips. We have done videos for Canadian Immigrant. There are enough LinkedIn tip articles on Canadian Immigrants blog posts. You can look it up. All right, look at this. Job White Recruiter Nation report. 87% of recruiters use LinkedIn to check candidates. There's enough proof everywhere. I'm assuming you have a LinkedIn profile to start with. If not, today is the day. Take a small step. Go to linkedin.com, just enter your credentials and you are in. All right? Okay. We are told never judge a book by its cover. We do it all the time. We still do it. That's human nature, right? You and I walk into a bookstore. Which is the book we pick up? The one that has an attractive cover, right? Not the content inside. The content inside comes later. If you are a movie, your picture is the trailer, is the poster. Okay, so put your best foot forward, have a picture like this. These are pictures that I randomly picked up from LinkedIn. Is your picture like this? Wear a suit and get a picture clicked. After your picture, they see your same name, something under your name. What is the first thing they see? A successful LinkedIn headline to tell me what your value proposition is and your so what. I never want to end up people saying so what. Hey, my name is Murli, so what? I see a lot of LinkedIn profiles with so and so name, web developer, so what? So and so name, student at this college, so what? You must solve a problem. Remember, you must use your skills and show that you solve a problem. I just picked up some random LinkedIn profiles to show you. Okay, the importance of keywords. Remember the right keywords. 95% of recruiters say resumes or LinkedIn lack keywords. Go to a website called ziprecruiter.com and type your job profile. It actually tells you what keywords are used by recruiters in every industry. Ziprecruiter.com. All right. Okay. A random example I picked up from LinkedIn. I don't know this person. I'm not endorsing her, but I just came across. No, she's looking for a job in Toronto, Ontario, right? Anita Windisman. She's got all the right keywords. Sales training, social selling, lead generation. But is that enough? Look how cleverly she solves a problem. That's her value proposition. Enabling B2B sales teams to find prospects on LinkedIn. How about you? Right. Get the right keywords in and feel free to contact Ramya or me. I can give my contact details at the end. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Murali Murthy, and we can help you create a profile that suits your audience. Okay. Random example number 2, Dorothy Lazovic. I don't know who she is, but she's a personal brand mastery strategist. Good. So what? Helping leaders prioritize a to-be list. Now she got it, isn't it? Well, I looked at them. Look, this is what I did on mine. Hey, my name is Murali Murthy. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach. So what? Unless I complete the loop, you're going to say, so what? I got to show you how I can benefit you, building brands, building people. And that's my resume, right? Live in the context of doing something, improving life, building, collaborating. If you're an HR profession, connecting. If you are an IT professional, delivering. If you are a creative person, creating. You see what I'm saying? Find keywords that actually add value. Make sense? So I got the keywords in my industry, then I added a value proposition. Okay, this means something, again, look at this. Harvard Business Review, an article I found. Resumes are dead. Interviews are ineffective. LinkedIn is good. But would Harvard Business Review say this? But then they say something, but projects are the real future of hiring. We all love the story of if no frills give me a shampoo for $10 and I go to Walmart and they say shampoo for $10 and this bar of soap free, I would gravitate to the next one. Why? Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free appeals to every human being. Works in Germany, works in Argentina, works in Canada, works with recruiters. So along with your resume, have something free. Have something. Hey, here's a project I did. Let's say you're looking for a job in supply chain. Maybe go to Google and find out the latest trends in supply chain and then take that article and give credit to the author, but post it on your LinkedIn, on your homepage where it said, do you have anything to share? A lot of people have LinkedIn profiles, but you're not watering the plant. What is your homepage for? Share something. Hey, this is an article I found, latest trends on social media, on supply chain. Someone will read it, the recruiter will read it, and he or she will say, man, this person is proactive. Let me give her a call. If you are a little more industrious, go write a blog, do a podcast, do a video interview. A project is something related to your industry that says you are currently active. You are not just looking for a job. Resumes are good, they are not dead. What the author means is resumes are good, but a project is the real deal. Buy one, get one free. All right. Again, I don't have time to open this blog, but how to use blogging. People have got jobs because they blog, right? If you love blogging, go for it. Okay. And I want to end with this. There's a beautiful quote: success occurs when opportunity meets preparation. You want to be successful, there is immense opportunity out there. A big thanks to the Canadian Immigrant team, Laura, Ramya, and everyone for putting this together. Isn't that an opportunity in itself? What is missing? Preparation. The ball is in your court. Prepare. How do you prepare? Get in touch with us for more information. That's my contact detail. Murali at acesworldfoundation.com is my email. That's my phone number. If you want to get in touch, all the services are free, voluntary, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn if you need more tips. With that, I'm done. We are open to questions. Thank you, Ramya. Take it over.
Murli, thank you as always for an excellent presentation. I learned so much as well. So let's get to the questions because I know you have to leave shortly. So the first one is, how does one network for jobs in the government, provincial as well as federal? Sometimes it's very difficult to get access to them. Tried LinkedIn and other online channels, but most of the times they don't work.
Okay, beautiful question. Well, remember the example I said, you tried LinkedIn. Now that's a very wide question. Remember, I said I went to a gym, but I didn't have a six pack. It's not you tried LinkedIn. What did you do on LinkedIn? So here are some tips, right? The person looking at you at a government job is still a human being. What if you create a project? But let us say you want to become a communications advisor or a speech writer for a government job. Just an example. Can you create a speech or can you write 10 tips of how people in office could speak better if you are looking for a job in communication and post that article? That is one way to do a project on a government job. Second thing is, on LinkedIn, join LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn has very specific industry groups. That is the inner circle, the sanctum sanctorum, right? Join LinkedIn groups. Third thing, join recruiters who specialize in those jobs. If you have to go in the search box and look for recruiters, you will actually find recruiters. Let's say you want to go join the Ontario Public Service. Look up their website, follow them on social media, learn to follow, guys. If the company I want to work for is on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, I will join all the four and I will follow them. When you follow them, write a comment or share, they will look you up. From the question I'm hearing, Ramya, the person has been on the surface, hasn't gone deeper. Remember, to answer a question, at 211 degrees, it's boiling water. At 212 degrees, it becomes steam and it can push an engine. Maybe you want to increase your intensity 1 degree, and the 1 degree can make all the difference. So LinkedIn groups, follow the government organizations, add articles or blog posts, add value. The law of karma, law of value, add value and it'll come back to you. I hope I answered the question, Ramya.
That's a lot of great information. Thank you for that. And I actually didn't realize that the government uses recruiters. Does the government use recruiters?
In some cases, it does, yeah.
They do. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. This is new information to me because I had
I can say from personal experience because I did everything I mentioned, actually did. A couple of years back, I did do a stint. I wrote speeches and I did that. That's why I'm saying. And I was contacted by a recruiter on LinkedIn. It worked in
okay.
the true example. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. So the next question is, I heard that some HR departments have a blacklist where they add the name of the applicant whose application, or more specifically, the cover letter has some mistakes. Is this true?
Sorry, can you repeat that? The cover letter has a mistake as a result.
Sorry. So if the cover letter has a mistake, the HR department actually have a blacklist of people, name of applicants that have mistakes that they will not reach out to or consider in the future.
Okay, very good. Here is something. Look, we all got to be intelligent enough to understand fact versus opinion. Well, I am Murli, I'm wearing a white shirt. Now that's a fact. But Murli is a nice guy. Now that's an opinion. You see what I'm saying? So how can we comment on opinions? Someone heard from someone that someone blacklisted. It's an opinion. Let's leave it at that. I can't comment on someone's perspective or an opinion. It may be true, it may not be true. Some things are not in our control. But what's in our control? You spoke about a cover letter mistake. Well, to the best of my knowledge, yes, even one mistake on a cover letter resume will get you knocked off. Please make sure, like something that Atosha shared, remember the mock interview, have someone review your resume. You have tools today. You have a tool called grammarly.com. It's free, guys. The first 1,000 words are free, right? And I'm Asian, like all of us do, man, it's free. If it is 2,000 words, I'll enter it twice, the first 1,000, the second 1,000. Make use of these are free resources. LinkedIn, Grammarly. Make sure you run your cover letter on grammarly.com. Word document itself has, so do a thorough spell check, have someone see it, and do a Grammarly check. If you can control that, what's in your control, the rest leave it to the universe. You can't get it wrong all the time. So do what's in your control. Make sure there are no mistakes. Even a wrong comma or a wrong period can make you tumble. So that is something in your control. I would make sure do a thorough check. No mistakes, please, on cover letters and resumes. It's a big no-no for recruiters. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I still have to figure out how to set it up on my phone because when I'm sending text messages in WhatsApp, I make spelling mistakes that don't get corrected, but I will figure it out today. So I'm not making mistakes, but it's not a resume. Okay, so one last question, and you mentioned adding my numbers of years of experience in the resume, but I have 10 plus years of experience, and I apply for jobs which are just asking for 2+ years of experience. Will that disqualify me?
Well, not really. Remember, guys, words make a lot of difference. The 10 plus people who are in, and again, we did an article on Canadian immigrant. How do people over 40 apply for jobs and everything? So let's first face the fact. If you have 10 plus years experience, someone graduating at 19 years out of Seneca, Humber, Centennial, Sheridan, whatever, is also applying for the same job. As a recruiter, you yourself would opt for the younger guy. More energy, less hassles, less pay, right? And they'll get the job done. So to be safe, even if you have 14 years experience, 18 years experience, as an immigrant to London, 10 plus is always safe as a norm. But in a job that says 2 plus, you can still say 2 plus. You know, that is a keyword match. Make sure that you match what is on the resume. If they're asking about 2 plus, you don't say 10 plus, say 2 plus. Remember, that is not the only thing that determine your candidacy. Just because you did 10 plus, it will not topple your card. It's the other things that match. Everything that is spoken is to take you till the interview stage, isn't it? Once you reach the interview, your resume has done its part. Remember that. From there, you take over and listen to what Atocha said before me. So if the resume, if the job description says 2 plus years, you still say 2 plus. 10 plus is also 2 plus, right? You aren't lying. Never get caught lying, but learn to package yourself. In today's world, selling the sizzle is as much important as selling the steak. So the way you package your information, mobile friendly, bullet points, exact keyword match. If they were to ask global experience, don't say I have international experience. You see, I have worldwide experience. I would repeat the word global because remember ATS, applicant tracking system, it's looking for a word called global, not international. So these kind of things, just match it word for word, make sure you are not lying, and then be confident that you can nail the interview. People are still looking for people with experience and the energy that Atocha spoke. If you bring both, you are unbeatable.
Thank you so much. That was some excellent information. So we'll wrap up now. And folks, if you have questions, please contact the speakers directly or send us an email at info@canadianimmigrant.ca and we'll forward on the questions. So a formal thank you to everyone for attending our web conference series. And thanks to our partners, ACCESS Employment, and sponsors BMO, Bank of Montreal, and Western Union, and to Yasmine, Emmanuel, Atosha, and Murli for joining us today and sharing your skills, expertise, and really great information. So if you have missed this or had to leave midway, please go to our website or our YouTube channel and you will find this recording. If you are if you have any other questions, please email us, or if there are other subjects you'd like us to write articles about on CanadianImmigrant.ca, please send us an email as well. So before I go, I just want to let you know that if you are based in Vancouver, don't miss our upcoming Vancouver Canadian Immigrant Fair that's happening on November 3rd. So you can find information about the fair on CanadianImmigrant.ca/career fair. So thank you, folks, and thank you to our speakers, and have a great day. Bye.